We have some more NHL signings to discuss today. We have many more RFAs that have come to terms with their teams avoiding arbitration, as well as another player signing his entry-level contract. We'll discuss all those players coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top here, we had some more RFAs that have come to terms with their teams here on new contracts, avoiding an arbitration hearing. Obviously, some of these guys were set to get underway here very shortly. So obviously, it's nice to see them be able to avoid that process and get a deal done ahead of time. Let's first get started here with the player who's got his entry-level contract under his belt, and that's Logan O'Connor of the Colorado Avalanche. Now, O'Connor attended the University of Denver, played in the NCAA, did not get drafted though, so he was an undrafted, unsigned free agent here who was invited to go to the Colorado Avalanche development camp this summer. He looked very impressive, and so they've decided to offer him a contract. So O'Connor signed his 2-year entry-level contract at $925,000. So obviously, O'Connor will more than likely get started this year playing with their AHL affiliate. Now let's take a look at some of the RFAs that have come to terms with their teams here, avoiding the arbitration process. Let's get started with the Vegas Golden Knights coming to terms with forward William Carrier. Obviously, Carrier played a fairly significant bottom six role, looked fairly impressive throughout the year and into the playoffs. Obviously, he offers them some toughness and some grit. So obviously, he signed a 2-year deal here at $725,000 per season. So this is a pretty low risk, low impact contract for the team, but it keeps him with the club for a couple more years. So overall, I like this signing for Vegas and for Carrier. I think he was a pretty good role player for them down the stretch here into the playoffs as well. So it was a pretty low risk contract, $725K. You can't get too much better than that. The New York Islanders have come to terms with center iceman Brock Nelson on a 1-year contract worth $4.25 million. Now, obviously, Brock Nelson on a short-term deal here. He's basically a 4-time 20-goal scorer. He's been officially a 3-time 20-goal scorer, with the other season hitting 19 goals. Obviously, with John Tavares in New York, for the most part here, Nelson has been like a third-line type player. He did have stretches earlier in his career where he did play the wing with Tavares at times, where he did look pretty solid. But overall, Nelson here has been a little bit further down to the depth chart. Obviously, with the Islanders losing Tavares, he likely will have an opportunity to play a bigger role here, but we'll see how that goes. Obviously, signing a short-term 1-year contract kind of makes me wonder if he may not be with the Islanders too long. As we all know, the Islanders are likely going to have a tough season. It's hard to say how well they're going to do this year. Lots of change in the Islanders organization. Signing him to a shorter term deal may mean that he's a player traded at the deadline as a rental to another team, because I do believe he becomes an unrestricted free agent heading into next season. So time will tell here, but obviously with Lou Lamoriello in charge, wouldn't surprise me to see a lot of significant change here over the next couple of seasons with the Islanders. So hard to say if Nelson stays or maybe he's used as a trade chip. I mean, he's been mentioned in trades before, so this wouldn't come as a huge shock here if they decided to move on from him either during the season or into next summer. The St. Louis Blues and Joel Edmonson have come to terms on a 1-year contract worth $3 million. Joel Edmonson's now completed 3 seasons in the St. Louis Blues organization, fairly steady back there on the blue line. You don't get a whole lot of offense out of Edmondson, but he is pretty steady, good defender, can certainly play with a shutdown type of pairing. I fully suspect Edmondson's role to continue increasing here over time. Comments from general manager Doug Armstrong indicated that they were certainly open to talking about a long-term deal here with Joel Edmondson, but based on the team's salary cap situation and other contracts, this kind of worked best for the team, so they're hoping to get him done on a shorter term deal, and over the next year or two where they have some more expiring contracts, they can hopefully extend him and get him a longer term deal at that time. So I fully suspect likely Joel Edmondson's next deal with the Blues is a longer term deal. So he does play a big role for them on the blue line, and I know there was some brief mention of him possibly being mentioned in trade rumors, but that was before during the Ryan O'Reilly trade speculation, but they've already acquired O'Reilly and he was not part of that package going back to Buffalo. So I fully suspect Edmonton will likely stay in St. Louis for many years to come. The Anaheim Ducks have come to terms with defenseman Brandon Montour on a 2-year deal worth $3.3 million. Montour played his first full season last year, but slowly worked his way up the defensive depth chart. Basically, as a top 4 defenseman, had a pretty solid year, putting up over 30 points most nights, playing 20 minutes plus. If you take a look at the Anaheim Ducks blue line now with guys like Lindholm and Fowler, Manson, and now Montour, they've got a pretty solid top four with all fairly young age. So I think this is a great signing by the Ducks to give him a top four role with this type of contract for the next couple of years. Certainly seems fair. I mean, he did have a pretty excellent year last season, 17-18. So hopefully he can continue to grow and develop and certainly earn this contract. And I would suspect that his next deal will be longer term if everything works out between him and the Anaheim Ducks. So that's all the signings we have to report on for today. Keep in mind, there's still lots of players out there waiting for their arbitration process to kick in. There's still other RFAs who don't have arbitration rights as well, trying to come to terms with their teams. So we should still see a fair bit of RFA news here over the next week or two while a lot of these arbitration cases either get settled or players come to terms with their teams while they're waiting for their hearing here. So stay tuned for much more to come here on the RFAs in the coming days. Now, if you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button as well. I'd appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.
We'll be right back.